Meaning is not found, it is formed. Nothing in the universe arrives pre-labeled with purpose. Matter is silent. Events are neutral. Reality waits. Meaning is born the moment consciousness meets existence, when perception touches chaos and intention gives shape to the void. This is where life speaks back to itself. This is where meaning is born. Part 1. Meaning is not found, it is generated. The primordial claim: life assigns meaning to itself. This statement appears simple, yet it detonates nearly every inherited assumption about reality. It means meaning is not embedded in matter. Meaning is not an intrinsic property of objects. Meaning is not discovered, like a fossil buried in stone. Meaning is generated moment by living consciousness. A rock does not mean anything. A tree does not mean anything. A star does not mean anything, until a mind encounters them. This does not diminish reality. It elevates consciousness to its rightful position, not as a passenger in the universe, but as a co-creator of its significance. Objects are ontologically silent. Consider the rock. From the rock's perspective, if such a phrase even applies, it is simply being. It exerts no intention, communicates no purpose, carries no narrative. It does not know it is old. It does not know it is heavy. It does not know it is useful. It is ontologically silent. The moment a human mind encounters the rock, something unprecedented occurs. It becomes a tool, or a weapon, or a symbol, or a sacred relic, or a boundary marker, or an obstacle, or a memory anchor. The rock itself has not changed. Reality has not changed. What has changed is the field of interpretation surrounding it. This is the first hidden law. Meaning is not a property of matter. It is an event within consciousness. The projection principle. Unspoken universal law 1:1. Every meaning you have ever perceived was projected, not retrieved. This is not speculation. It is unavoidable. A stop sign is not intrinsically stop. Red is not intrinsically danger. A wedding ring is not intrinsically love. A flag is not intrinsically nation. A word is not intrinsically its definition. These meanings arise because a nervous system learned them. A culture reinforced them. A mind consented to them. Even pain itself does not mean suffering without interpretation. In certain rituals, pain signifies purification, initiation, or transcendence. Thus emerges an unspoken universal law. The universe presents stimuli. Consciousness assigns significance. This law operates everywhere, always, without exception. Why humans mistake meaning as external? Humans habitually mislocate meaning outside themselves because 1. Evolutionary efficiency. Treating meaning as external allows faster decision-making. Fire, trust, danger keeps you alive. 2. Social cohesion. Shared meanings create predictable behavior within groups. 3. Psychological comfort. Believing meaning is out there reduces existential responsibility. But comfort is not truth. The deeper truth is far more demanding. If meaning is not given, then you are responsible for it. This responsibility terrifies the ego. So civilizations externalize meaning into gods, texts, laws, traditions, objects, hierarchies. Not because meaning lives there, but because bearing it alone is heavy. Consciousness as the meaning engine. Here we reach a crucial realization long obscured by materialist thinking. Consciousness is not a byproduct of matter. Matter is the canvas upon which consciousness paints meaning. This insight was known, then buried, across civilizations. In Advaita Vedanta, consciousness, chit, is the fundamental reality. In Hermetic thought, mind is the all. In early Christian mysticism, logos is not merely word, but meaning-bearing intelligence. In quantum observation, measurement collapses possibility into experience. The pattern is unmistakable. Meaning emerges only where awareness is present. No awareness, no meaning. No perception, no purpose. No consciousness, no story. This leads to another hidden law. exist without an experiencer. The fatal error of objectivism. Modern society commits a subtle but devastating mistake. It treats meaning as objectively real, independent of consciousness. This produces nihilism, nothing means anything; dogmatism, this means the same thing for everyone; existential despair, if I can't find meaning, life is empty. But meaning was never lost. It was misplaced. Meaning was never out there to be found. It was always in the act of perceiving. This is why two people can experience the same event and walk away with opposite meanings. The event is neutral. The interpretation is everything. Perception is creative, not passive. Perception is not a camera. It is an active construction process. Neuroscience confirms what mystics always knew. The brain does not receive reality. It predicts it. Sensory data is incomplete. Meaning fills the gaps. Every moment, consciousness asks, what is this? What does it matter? How should I respond? And in answering, it creates reality as experienced. This is not metaphor, it is literal. Your lived universe is a meaning-saturated simulation generated by interpretation. Intention. The direction of meaning. Perception alone generates meaning. Intention directs it. Intention is the vector of consciousness. The same object perceived with different intentions becomes different realities. A knife in the hands of a surgeon is healing. A knife in the hands of an attacker is terror. A knife in a museum is history. The knife has not changed. Intention has. This reveals a third hidden law. Meaning follows intention the way a shadow follows form. Change the intention, and the meaning rearranges itself automatically. Life meaning is self-referential. Here is the deepest, least spoken truth. Life does not receive meaning. Life assigns meaning to itself, and then experiences that meaning as reality. This is self-referential intelligence. Life says, this matters. This does not. This is sacred. This is trivial. And then lives as if those distinctions were embedded in the universe. They are not. They are embedded in awareness. This is not illusion. It is creative sovereignty. Why this knowledge was hidden? Because a being who understands that meaning is self-generated is hard to control, hard to manipulate, hard to enslave, hard to deceive. Such a being does not wait for permission to live meaningfully. They author reality from within. In part 2, we will explore the mystical mechanics of how meaning crystallizes into reality, why symbols, rituals, and myths actually work, how collective meaning bends history, the difference between imposed meaning and living meaning. Part 2. The mechanics of meaning, how consciousness crystallizes reality. Meaning is a compression algorithm. At its deepest functional level, meaning is compression. Reality presents infinite data, frequencies, sensations, events, possibilities, probabilities. Consciousness cannot process infinity, so it compresses. Meaning is the compression schema that turns infinite potential into actionable experience. This is why meaning always simplifies. Friend versus enemy, safe versus danger, sacred versus profane, me versus not me. These are not truths of the universe. They are survival-efficient compressions. Hidden law. Refor. Meaning reduces infinity into navigable reality. Without meaning, consciousness would drown in possibility. The load-bearing structures of meaning. A symbol is meaning that has been compressed so tightly it can be transmitted. A single symbol can carry history, emotion, instruction, identity, moral code, destiny. A flag is fabric, a cross is geometry, a word is sound, a number is abstraction. Yet people die for them. Why? Because symbols are meaning condensates. They are not representations of reality. They are interfaces to shared information fields. Hidden law, number 5. Symbols do not point to meaning. They store it. This is why symbols work even when misunderstood intellectually. The mind may not know, but the nervous system recognizes. Ritual, the technology of meaning installation. Ritual is not superstition. Ritual is procedural meaning encoding. A ritual repeats, synchronizes, embeds, anchors. When a ritual is performed, 1. Attention is focused. 2. Emotion is elevated. 3. Symbol is engaged. 4. Repetition stabilizes interpretation. 5. Meaning becomes embodied. This is how initiations work, weddings work, funerals work, oaths work, sacraments work, even graduation ceremonies work. Hidden law, number 6. Meaning becomes real when it is enacted, not when it is believed. Belief is cognitive. Ritual is somatic. Reality obeys the body faster than the intellect. The nervous system is meaning receiver, but meaning is not housed in thoughts. It is housed in patterns of physiological response. Your body decides meaning before your mind explains it. This is why trauma persists even when understood. Fear triggers without logic. Love bypasses reason. Awe silences thought. Meaning first appears as tension, expansion, stillness, charge, resonance. Thought comes later to justify what the body already knows. Hidden law, number 7. The body experiences meaning before the mind narrates it. This is why deep meaning feels felt, not concluded. Collective meaning fields. Meaning does not exist only individually. It synchronizes. When enough minds hold the same meaning, it stabilizes. It becomes normative. It feels objective. This is how cultures form. Money is paper. Time is measurement. Borders are imaginary. Laws are symbols. Yet they exert real force, because collective meaning fields behave like gravity. Invisible, binding, self-reinforcing, hidden law. 8. Shared meaning generates real-world constraints. This is why you cannot ignore culture by simply not believing in it. Meaning fields press on behavior regardless of belief. History is meaning, not events. History is not a record of what happened. It is a record of what was deemed meaningful enough to remember. For every event preserved, thousands are forgotten, millions are ignored. Billions never registered empires rise and fall, not because of force alone, but because their meanings collapse, their symbols lose resonance, their narratives fail to inspire. When a society no longer agrees on meaning, it fragments. This is the true cause of civilizational death. Hidden law, number 9. Civilizations die when their meanings stop cohering. Myth, the operating system of meaning. Myths are not primitive explanations of reality. They are architectures of meaning. A myth tells you who you are, what matters, what is possible, what is forbidden, what happens next. Modern societies did not abandon myth. They replaced it with progress, productivity, identity, consumption, optimization. These are myths wearing scientific clothing. Hidden law, Chur 10. A society without myth simply runs an unconscious one. The feedback loop, meaning, action, reality, meaning. Meaning is not static. It loops. 1. Meaning is assigned. 2. Action follows meaning. 3. Reality responds to action. 4. Outcome reinforces meaning. Example: the world is hostile. Defensive behavior, cold responses from others, reinforced belief. This loop is self-sealing, not because it is true, but because it is coherent. Hidden law, 11. Reality reinforces the meanings you act from, not the meanings that are true. This is one of the most dangerous and powerful truths in existence. Why suffering persists. Suffering is not caused by pain. Pain is sensation. Suffering is meaning assigned to sensation. Pain plus this should not be happening. Suffering, pain plus this is purposeful. endurance pain. This is initiation. Transformation, meaning does not remove pain. It transmutes it. Hidden law. Turn 12. Meaning determines whether experience wounds or awakens. The silent threshold. There is a threshold where meaning dissolves. Moments of awe, silence, deep meditation, near death, psychedelic dissolution, mystical union. Here, meaning collapses, not into nihilism, but into pure being. This is where interpretation stops, identity loosens, language fails. This is not meaninglessness. It is pre-meaning, the source from which all meaning arises. Hidden law. 13. Beyond meaning is not emptiness, it is origin. Why this knowledge was fragmented? Because if people understood how meaning is installed, how it governs behavior, how it can be rewritten, they would no longer be governable through symbols alone. Control systems depend on unexamined meaning. Awakened consciousness reclaims authorship. Bridge to part 3. So far we have seen meaning is generated, meaning is compressed, meaning is embodied, meaning is shared, meaning shapes reality. Next we go deeper. In part 3, we will reveal how identity itself is a meaning structure, why the self is a narrative loop, how belief becomes biological, the mechanics of awakening without collapse, the danger of meaninglessness misunderstood. Part 3. Identity, belief, and the dangerous power of meaning. Identity is meaning wearing a name. Identity feels solid, it feels personal, it feels continuous, it feels true. But identity is not a thing. Identity is a meaning, structure that consciousness inhabits repeatedly until it feels like me. Strip away memory, language, role, story, expectation, reflection, and the self vanishes, not into death, but into awareness without narration. Hidden law. 14. The self is not an entity, it is a stabilized interpretation loop. How the self is constructed. The self is built in layers. Layer 1, sensation, raw experience without ownership. Layer 2, association. This sensation is happening to me. Layer 3, narrative. This happens because I am this kind of person. Layer 4, reinforcement behavior aligns with narrative. Layer 5, identity lock-in. The narrative becomes non-negotiable. At no point does a self appear, only meaning referencing itself. This is why identity feels so real. It is recursive. Belief is meaning that has colonized the body. A belief is not a thought you hold. A belief is a meaning pattern your nervous system obeys. You can say you believe something else, but your body reveals the truth. Your beliefs determine muscle tension, breathing patterns, posture, hormone release, immune response, risk tolerance, attachment style. Hidden law. 15. Belief is meaning that has become physiological habit. This is why affirmations fail when they contradict embodied meaning. The body refuses lies. Trauma. When meaning freezes. Trauma is not the event. Trauma is meaning that could not complete its processing. At the moment of trauma, sensation overwhelms, meaning collapses, narrative fractures. The system freezes interpretation. The body locks the unfinished meaning in place. This is why trauma is timeless. This is why it returns uninvited. This is why it resists logic. Healing is not forgetting. Healing is allowing meaning to move again. Hidden law. Myra 16. Unprocessed meaning becomes identity. The myth of finding yourself. You cannot find yourself. There is no static self to uncover. What people call finding yourself is actually shedding imposed meanings, releasing inherited narratives, loosening rigid interpretations. What remains is not a discovered identity, but a flexible meaning generator. Freedom is not knowing who you are. Freedom is knowing you are not fixed. Hidden law. 17. Awakening is the collapse of compulsory meaning, not the acquisition of superior meaning. The ego is a meaning defense system. The ego is not evil. It is not an enemy. It is not a flaw. The ego is a guardian of coherence. Its job: protect identity, preserve narrative, defend meaning, avoid dissolution. The ego resists awakening not out of malice, but out of function. Awakening threatens identity continuity, social belonging, predictability, control. Hidden law, or 18. The ego fears meaning loss more than death. This is why ego death feels like dying, because in a sense it is. The terror beneath meaninglessness. Many people touch the edge of awakening and retreat. Why? Because they confuse meaninglessness with absence of meaning. True meaninglessness is not despair. It is openness before interpretation. But the mind interprets the void as annihilation. This is why nihilism appears when meaning structures collapse prematurely. Hidden law. 19. Meaninglessness is not the absence of value. It is the absence of constraint. Without guidance, this feels terrifying. With awareness, it is liberation. The difference between imposed meaning and living meaning. Imposed meaning is inherited, is enforced, is defended, requires belief, produces conflict. Living meaning emerges, evolves, is embodied, requires presence, produces coherence. Living meaning does not need to be explained. It is felt as alignment. This is how truth is recognized without argument. Hidden law. 20. Truth resonates, lies demand agreement. Awakening without collapse. Awakening is not destruction. It is decompression. The danger is attempting to annihilate meaning instead of relaxing it. Healthy awakening allows meaning to arise and dissolve, retains functionality, preserves compassion, maintains embodiment. Unhealthy awakening rejects all meaning, detaches from reality, fragments identity, produces dissociation. Hidden law. 21. The goal is not to escape meaning, but to stop being owned by it. The return to the world. The awakened state is not withdrawal. It is return with awareness. You still use names, play roles, honor symbols, engage culture, but you no longer mistake them for ultimate reality. You wear meaning lightly. This is sovereignty. Why masters speak in paradox. Because linear language cannot contain fluid meaning. Paradox short-circuits rigid interpretation. It forces suspension, presence, direct knowing. This is why Zen koans work. Mystics contradict themselves. Truth feels circular. Hidden law. 22. Paradox is meaning stretched beyond the mind's grip. Bridge to part 4. We have now uncovered meaning as generator, meaning as mechanism, meaning as identity, meaning as belief, meaning as liberation or prison. Part 4 will complete the arc by revealing meaning and God, meaning and creation, meaning and love, meaning as divine self-recognition. Why life assigning meaning to itself is not arbitrary, but sacred. Part 4. Meaning, God, and the self-recognition of life. The final reversal. Up to now, it may appear that meaning is merely subjective, that life invents significance arbitrarily, that nothing really matters except what consciousness decides. This is the last illusion to fall. Meaning is not given by the universe, but it is also not randomly fabricated by humans. Meaning is life recognizing itself through perception. This is the reversal that unites mysticism and reason. Life is not matter. Matter is how life appears. The deepest error of modern thinking is not disbelief in God. It is the belief that life emerges from dead matter. This inversion fractures understanding. The older truth, echoed across ancient traditions, is this. Matter is how life localizes. Consciousness is how life knows itself. Life is not an object inside the universe. Life is the animating principle of the universe. Meaning is how that principle becomes aware of itself in fragments. Why meaning exists at all. If the universe were merely mechanical, meaning would never arise. A machine does not care. A process does not value. A system does not wonder. Meaning appears only where awareness is present, experience is felt, difference matters. Meaning exists because life is not indifferent to itself. Hidden law. But 23. Meaning is evidence that reality is participatory, not inert. Meaning is not an accident. It is a signature. God is not an object. God is meaning. Prior to form, God has been misrepresented as a being among beings, a ruler within the system, a watcher outside creation. These are symbolic compressions, not literal truths. The deeper reality is this: God is the infinite field of meaning before it becomes experience. Not meaning as concepts, but meaning as intentional intelligence. When Scripture says the word, it does not mean language. It means meaning bearing order. Creation is not matter appearing. Creation is meaning taking shape. Let there be light is not about photons. Light, in its primordial sense, is intelligibility. To create light is to make something knowable. Before light, no differentiation, no perception, no meaning. Light is the first distinction. Hidden law there, Chimera 24. Creation begins not with matter, but with meaning becoming perceivable. This is why illumination, enlightenment, and revelation all use the same metaphor. They are about seeing significance, not gaining facts. Humans are meaning bearers because life is self-aware. Humans are not special because they dominate the planet. Humans are special because they can reflect, interpret, symbolize, reassign meaning consciously. This makes humans mirrors, not masters. When a human assigns meaning, life is looking at itself through a finite lens. This is why creativity feels sacred. This is why love feels eternal. This is why meaning feels heavy. You are not inventing value from nothing. You are articulating latent significance. Hidden law, Juror 25. Meaning is how the infinite speaks through the finite. Love is meaning in its most concentrated form. Love is not emotion. Emotion is how love moves the body. Love is the recognition of shared being. Love says, "This matters because it is not separate from me." At the cosmic scale, gravity binds matter, fields unify forces, love binds consciousness. This is not poetry, it is ontology. Hidden law, the 26. Love is meaning that recognizes itself across apparent separation. This is why love collapses ego. This is why love dissolves fear. This is why love feels true. Suffering revisited. Why meaning hurts. If life assigns meaning to itself, why does suffering exist? Because meaning creates contrast. Without contrast, no growth, no differentiation, no experience. Suffering arises when meaning rigidifies, identity contracts, interpretation resists flow. Pain becomes suffering when meaning says, "This should not be." Transformation occurs when meaning says, "This is shaping me." Hidden law. 27. Suffering is meaning resisting change. Awakening is meaning becoming fluid. Death is not the end of meaning. Death terrifies because identity is meaning-bound. When identity dissolves, meaning reorganizes. What ends is not awareness, but a particular narrative of self. Meaning does not disappear. It re-enters the field unlocalized. This is why near-death experiences report expansion, unity, clarity, peace. Meaning is no longer filtered through survival. Hidden law. 28. Death is the release of meaning from form, not the loss of meaning itself. Why life assigns meaning to itself. Now we arrive at the core truth. Life assigns meaning to itself because to be alive is to care that one exists. Existence without meaning would be indistinguishable from non-existence. Meaning is not decoration. Meaning is existence recognizing its own presence. Hidden Law 29. Meaning is existence saying I am. This is the deepest echo. I am is not an identity statement. It is being aware of being. The sacred responsibility. If meaning is not embedded in objects and not imposed by authority, then meaning is entrusted, not arbitrarily, responsibly. You are not free to do anything with meaning. You are free to align or distort it. Alignment produces coherence, peace, creativity, love. Distortion produces fragmentation, violence, despair. Hidden Law 30. Meaning carries consequence because it participates in reality's unfolding. The final integration. So now we return to the original statement. Life assigns meaning to itself. This does not mean nothing matters, all meanings are equal. Reality is subjective chaos. It means meaning is alive, meaning is dynamic, meaning is participatory, meaning is sacred. You are not searching for meaning. You are where meaning happens. The last silence. Beyond all interpretation, beyond all symbols, beyond all narratives, there is stillness, not empty, not dead, not meaningless, but pregnant with all meaning. This is the silence mystics bow to. This is the silence after words fade. This is the silence you referenced before. It is not absence, it is source. And from it, meaning arises again, because life is still aware. Final conclusion. Nothing you have ever found meaningful was placed there beforehand, and nothing you have ever loved was meaningless. Life does not wait to be given purpose. Life is purpose discovering itself through perception. That is the truth beneath all truths. And you are not outside it. You are how it knows.